as I just briefly outlined, we're going to just explain how and where the opportunities, what kind of opportunities exist within the three priority sectors in Ghana, and how we're going to work with the government of Ghana to accelerate investment. So just kind of very briefly, Ghana has a very bold ambition. It wants to industrialize its economy, create large-scale jobs, and become a really big manufacturing power base within West Africa. As Baptiste outlined briefly, it has a lot of innate advantages, including a skilled labor force, access to a lot of minerals and other materials, and an effective kind of trade facilitation process that gives it access to some of the key export and export markets. Ghana's ambition also includes becoming a less aid-reliant economy, and so kind of generate its own wealth and create large-scale prosperity for its people. So again, very briefly, the Ghana JET program, which is an FCDO, Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office funded program, which is led by Palladium, and BCG works on the investment acceleration component. As Baptiste explained before, we've identified three priority sectors where we would actually work with the government to drive investment, and they are automotive, pharma, textiles, and garments. And these sectors have been identified because there are clear, tangible opportunities to promote investment here. Again, just a quick summary of where the opportunity exists within automotive. Now, automotive sector, there has been a lot of excitement in Ghana with the investments from firms like Volkswagen and Toyota in setting up plants to manufacture assemble from semi-knockdown kits. So the SKD assembly is a big part of what Ghana is doing at the moment. And within government, there is a real concerted effort to make sure this actually is just a start, and further investment can actually be rushed into the sector to create a bigger automotive ecosystem. Now, automotive sector, it's a long-term play. If you look at countries like Turkey or countries like India, it's been like a 20, 30-year journey before they actually became a full, large-scale integrated car manufacturer. However, there are, to get there, you do need to go through various steps. So for Ghana, the clear opportunity is in assembly as a start. So to go from SKDs to kind of complete knockdown kits, and also kind of replace the the demand that is currently met through second-hand car demand. Now, to do that, obviously, you need a range of kind of measures. Firstly, you need to actually make it more difficult to import really old cars that flood the market. But secondly, there's a good reason why people actually buy these cars. They are cheaper and more available. So one has to actually do a lot of work in automotive finance as well to actually kind of genuinely unlock the potential for locally manufactured cars replacing kind of imported cars. So assembly is a big play. The next big play would be kind of the components and initially the kind of the aftermarket sales for parts that are quickly worn off, for example, tires, wipers, brake pads, etc., as a start, and then build on that to actually get into kind of more complex plays. The investment required isn't sizable given the opportunity, and in addition to actually kind of being able to meet local demand, regional demand, it would also create it would also create a lot of jobs. So the advantages that Ghana has beyond labor, it has raw materials, it has the free trade agreements to actually kind of make things to keep things moving forward. And more importantly, within the automotive sector, the government of Ghana has a very strong investor-centric approach. Moving on to the pharma sector, again, there's both a local as well as a regional opportunity here. in terms of actually the sizable opportunity. I think COVID-19 has actually helped many countries around the world to realize the importance of having a strong domestic pharmaceutical sector. Now, Ghana is not starting from scratch. It has some strong plants in existence, which are already making a range of products. So there is a real opportunity here to actually scale up these plants, and expand production into new areas. As part of the program, we've actually engaged with a lot of investors, and there's some really interesting observations about why Ghana might actually have some advantages here. Yet, as is evident, pharma is a very, very complex sector. It is dominated by many of the OECD countries, as well as countries like China and India. So to actually, the real opportunities, to actually, particularly to get to fill and finish kind of products, there needs to be both policy as well as kind of investor-centric approach to attract investment. Again, we've done an estimate of the kind of opportunities that, the scale of investment that is required to actually get both brownfield and kind of greenfield investment. One of the advantages of the pharma sector beyond, shall we say, job creation, is that it's actually a complex sector. When we talk about economic transformation of a country, entering into a sector like pharma actually leads to kind of the complex ecosystem of, say, universities and research institutions, as well as skilled labor, all collaborating with the industry to create the kind of ecosystem that ultimately will have kind of spillover benefits for other sectors as well. So while pharma is a long-term play, there are some clear short-term opportunities that Ghana can capitalize on. Within the textile sector as well, it's a large market, and from an export point of view, there are some clear advantages given the preferential access to both the U.S. And the European market. And so again, labor is a big advantage, but there are also other advantages like the fact that Ghana has a port that works a lot more effectively than, say, other parts of Africa. It has a large labor force. And it also technically has access, it is within a region where there is really high quality cotton. And one of the trends that's happening across the sector is many garment manufacturers are actually keen to diversify from their over-dependence on China, and there are some clear reasons why many countries want to get out of China at this point, particularly given some of the U.S. sanctions on Chinese cotton. So there are many garment manufacturers that are actually looking at other locations, and Ghana does feature in the plans of some of the biggest brands. And the next step, obviously, is to clearly figure out what you need to do to actually get in here as well. Here, the short to medium term opportunity is in garments. Textiles is a longer term play, and it requires much higher scale investment. But again, like we discussed, in the pharma sector, you need to look at these as various steps of a ladder. And so entering the garment sector is often, the really first step before actually you can think of a larger integrated garment and textile sector. The job creation opportunities, particularly at the lower end, in a growing country like Ghana, are very, very clear in the garment sector as well. What are the investors saying? So I've just given you a quick snapshot of some of the perspectives that we've heard from local, regional, as well as international investors. We've had an opportunity to engage with some of the biggest names in the sector, in auto, in pharma, as well as in garments and textiles. There is a lot of optimism. There is a sense, as the minister outlined, there's a clear sense that from a policy perspective, this is a government actually that wants to actually attract investment. There's also the sense that we talked about political stability, and I think there's always the danger of a single story when it comes to talking about investing in Africa. But we're also seeing that they are actually able to kind of say well, there is political stability here, there is democracy. So if you're looking at government, the government sector, especially given the pressures in recent years, many manufacturers that we talk to want a country where trade unions operate, labor standards are maintained, minimum wages are honored. So there is a clear, there are good reasons why people would want to invest in Ghana. So how do we make this happen? So one of the approaches that we've pioneered in several countries with some effect is what we call an investment or an industrialization accelerator. So the investment accelerator, is simply a kind of a purposed, a special purpose or a tactical task force. It's not like a permanent structure. It basically identifies really high impact opportunities and figures out how to actually take it from identification to conclusion of investment. Now, why is this necessary? Firstly, it's quite important to align what government investment priorities are. What are the sectors that the government really wants investment, and what are some of the social objectives in terms of kind of job creation, skill development, etc. Often these efforts are kind of fragmented, across ministries, across different agencies, and it's important to actually bring it together so that the investors have kind of a smoother access to the decision-making process. It's also very difficult for governments to actually kind of maneuver through the complex investor landscape. So what is important is actually to kind of really set up a dedicated process that allows governments to go from identifying opportunities to actually, materializing, making the investment materialize. So what we see an industrialization accelerator do is actually creating a task force that actually brings key decision makers together to enable rapid decision making so that efforts are not actually siloed. Now, what is important to understand is that an investment accelerator, which we'll be working with MOTI to implement, is not actually meant to replace existing government units. It's not an additional layer of bureaucracy. It's not a permanent body. It is purely an execution and monitoring support for the government. It will actually work with existing government civil servants. Our role will be actually more of coaching and supporting and making sure that the processes are right to actually make investment materialize. So it is actually working in agile 3-week sprints of kind of clearly identifying what each member of this accelerator unit does and making sure they're taken to conclusion. It's in providing support to government to ensure that they can actually engage investors and the people within mid-level of government have the right toolkits and the right skills to have those conversations with the investors and address specific concerns they have. The accelerator will also be kind of working towards tangible impact in terms of investment realized, jobs created, and so they'll be like clearly measurable indicators. And we've seen this work, not just in other African countries, but we are currently doing this in a few East Asian countries as well. It's also about ultimately making sure that the government can actually do this on its own and making sure that we transfer capabilities. So, in conclusion, with the JET program, we are here as partners to support the government of Ghana. We want to get that message that the Honourable Minister said, that Ghana is really open for business, and we'll be a partner working alongside the government to make that a reality. Thank you very much.